Hey, morphing beings, welcome to another video. Today I want to talk a bit about how to work with the big polarities in the spine. So first of all, let me clarify what I mean with these big polarities. What do I mean with it? We can say true reality is one. Everything is one whole. We can see this in a non-duality way, as in many religions talk about this. Many theories also already have been created around this topic. True reality is one, but we, as finite beings, see this reality in a framework. We work with it in a duality way. So we create differences, and the true meaning of a polarity is in essence a difference. One thing that is not the same as the other thing. Now, what is so interesting about this, that these polarities are the extremes of one spectrum that is actually made out of this same essence. The polarities are just one component on the one side and the other component on the other side, but they exist around this same axis point. Therefore, one's existence, one polarity's existence, inherently means the other has to exist as well. In other words, the fact that we have one existing means the other is just as valuable. It just matters the circumstances that we live in. The one forms the other. That's in essence how we can see this. So, what kind of polarity am I talking about? The biggest polarity that I have found to be existing everywhere I look around me, that goes into the essence of any dynamic situation, is a push and a pull. Really, this polarity can be applied everywhere, from atoms, molecules, cells, intercellular relationships, tissues, systems, organs, organism, one being with another being, 3 beings, 4 beings, society, nations, international communication, up to interstellar formations. It all works around this push and pull principle. Everything can be seen with this push and pull principle. So also the spine, of course. The way I see this in the body in its most simplistic form, a push meaning a compression. You compress something by pushing it, and a pull meaning a traction. You use traction to lift something from one another. These are two polarities constantly at work. If you look around, you can see it everywhere. And also not only in the physical stuff, like I said, socially as well, being pushed or pulled towards something. So let's talk a little bit about one of these polarities. Let's talk about compression. Compression, physically, I see the resting squat as a perfect way to embody this. When we do a resting squat, and at the end of the video I will show you what I mean with the resting squat, but for now let me just talk about it. The resting squat is where you rest in a squat position, heels on the floor, completely folded, kind of. This foldability, you can see me already doing it, this foldability gives a compression in your whole body. Your ankles, knees, hips, spine, the more you go up, the less this compression becomes, but still, also in the neck, this compression is present. The resting squat is very interesting. Let's look a little bit about the history. If you believe in evolution, we see this already in certain animals and apes, which are kind of or like primates, which are precursors to humans, you can say that. They use a lot of this resting squat. They don't use chairs, maybe they sit on a rock, maybe, but mostly they just go down to their ankles, everything is compressed, and they just rest there, just looking around, observing around them, maybe eating something. They do this in this squat position. This is interesting. Let's look culturally. What's a big difference between the East and the West? For me, it's the usage of this squat position. When you look at people in the East, adults, and people in the West, these adults in the East are kind of always capable of going into a squat position. Whereas in the West, when you look at it, we don't use this squat position very much anymore. When we look at how Asia uses its surroundings, less and less these days, but they used to have these toilets where you go into a squat position to do your thing, which is actually maybe even better for you than just sitting on the toilet. In Japan, a lot of eating is done on the ground. There's a lot more contact with the ground and therefore a lot more foldability inside this body. Let's look at age. When you look at kids, what do you see when they pick something up on the ground? They go fully down in their ankles, their hips, etc. They go fully down and fully up. And the older they get, the more they tend to use their backs and their hips to go to the ground, but they leave their legs more straight and more straight. This is interesting. So, enough about the squat. Let's look at this traction polarity. How does this apply in these same categories that I just talked about? I like to see the passive hang, where you hold something and you just let your body hang on this pole. You create a lot of traction around the spine, which kind of sets everything together through this gravity going through your spine, because you're not connected to the ground, you're connected to something higher. Let's look at this historically. When we look at animals again, primates, they use a lot of brachiation. What do I mean with brachiation? It's the way these primates are able to use the trees with their arms, stretching this whole side, hanging. It's done a lot by these animals. The interesting thing about it is culturally it's not really present anymore, not as much as squatting. Now this could be because squatting is just very easy and you don't need anything to perform this motion. The only thing you need is a ground. Well, that's kind of always present. But when you need to hang, you need to have something above your head. When I look around in the city, most people I think that watch this live in the city. There's not much around to hang from. Maybe a tree somewhere or like a construction site where people are working on, I don't know what it's called in English actually, but when they work on houses, you can hang from those things. Maybe in the metro or the subway, there are ways to hang, but these are all, it's frowned upon to do it, so you're not going to do it very easily. So culturally, there's not really much hanging done anymore. Some sports use hanging more than others. Rock climbing, bouldering, those kind of sports. use hanging more. Free running also uses hanging more than other sports, but culturally it's not really pressed anymore. But we look at kids again, what do we see? Naturally, when they can hang somewhere, they will hang, they will brachiate, they will, you see kids everywhere on these poles brachiating, being like monkeys. Then as they get older, we do it less and less. It's interesting to think about. Now, these two polarities, so we have the compression in the squat and the elongation, the traction whilst hanging. These two polarities, when we combine these two, we can create a really potent way to knead more of our spine. Like I said in the beginning of this video, these two extremes, they always exist with each other. It's the same spectrum. It's just one polarity is one extreme, the other polarity is the other extreme. The fact that this push exists means there's room for traction as well. So let's use this not only in the middle point, or maybe a little bit more spacely than the middle point. What I mean with this is, let's say the polarity is this big. This is the whole motion we can make. Let's say theoretically now the passive hang is the polarity, the biggest, the outside of this spectrum of pull, and the other side, the squat, is the other outside, the extreme of the push, the compression. We as humans in the city are kind of mostly staying here. We sit, not fully compressed. We stand, not fully compressed. We lie down, not fully in traction, in elongation, a little bit. But most people have soft mattress, so it doesn't really help with the elongation of the body. It can be very good and interesting to explore these polarities, to explore this squatting and hanging. And I don't want to spoil you too much with information. I'd like to give you some reasoning behind it, but I'd like for you to play with it yourself. So what you can do is find something to hang from. Place it in your house. There are enough options these days, like a doorway bar, or rings. Maybe you can hang them somewhere, or just like a station where you can put your hanging station from. Also in a doorway. Usually a doorway is very accessible for most people. Get somewhere you can hang from, and then hang for a little bit. You don't even have to hang fully. It can be too much for a lot of people. So start with it slowly. Maybe watch a video of someone teaching you how to hang. I'll make some in the future as well, but for now, you can just use the internet the way you want to for hanging. And then after you're done hanging, go slowly into the squat position. Also maybe helpful to find a good explanation video about this. Go into the squatting position, staying there for a little bit, going back up, going slowly into traction. Do this a few times every day. The potential is amazing for your spine. After a few weeks, you will feel totally different in your spine. Using these polarities gives you everything in between as well. The way I see it, health is expression in every possible way. And in this way, we are trying to express more and more in every possible way. So using these extremes, we get everything in between, and we free as much as possible our body and our spine. So with that being said, I will leave it at this. After I say you farewell, you will see a video of me performing this motion. You can watch it, use it as inspiration, and I will see you in the next one. Remember, we are morphing beings. We either morph or we die. That's it, really. So let's move well. And if you like the video, leave a like, place a comment if you have anything to say, share it with someone. Thank you.